A serious warning is coming from NATO, and it has to do with space. Russia may be planning to put nuclear weapons in orbit. These weapons wouldn't be used to bomb Earth. Instead, they could be used to destroy satellites in space. That might not sound like much, but if those satellites are taken out, it could break the systems we all use every day, from GPS and phone networks to weather tracking and military communication. NATO's Secretary General Mark Rutte says this is not just a space problem, but a real threat to global security. What NATO is saying. In an interview with the German newspaper Welt am Sonntag, Mark Rutte confirmed that NATO has received reports suggesting Russia might be working on this kind of weapon. According to Rutte, Russia's goal would be to damage or destroy satellites that belong to other countries. These weapons wouldn't fall to Earth, but their damage could still reach us, because so much of our modern life depends on satellites. The internet, mobile phones, airplane systems, and even financial transactions all rely on satellites to work smoothly. Why satellites matter so much? Most people don't think about satellites, but we depend on them every single day. When you open your phone's GPS, check the weather, watch TV, or talk on a video call, a satellite is helping make that happen. Satellites also support systems for airplanes, military forces, ships at sea, and disaster warnings. If even a few key satellites were destroyed, large parts of daily life could stop working, not just in one country, but across the world. And that's why NATO sees this as a very big deal, why Russia might do this. Rutte explained that Russia's current space technology is behind compared to the West. The United States, Europe, and other NATO countries have stronger and more modern systems in space. Russia may feel it cannot catch up through normal means, so instead, it might be looking for a shortcut by taking down other countries' satellites. If Russia uses a nuclear weapon in space, it could cause a wave of destruction across many satellites at once, giving them an unfair advantage. But this would be a very dangerous path. Breaking the space law. There's a reason why the world has stayed away from weapons in space, and that reason is the Outer Space Treaty. This treaty was signed in 1967 by the United States, the Soviet Union, and many other countries. It says that no country is allowed to place nuclear weapons or other weapons of mass destruction in space. The goal of the treaty is to make sure space stays peaceful and safe for all. If Russia does what NATO fears, it would clearly be breaking this law and putting global peace at risk. What NATO is doing now. Rutte says NATO is already taking steps to prepare for possible threats in space. NATO member countries are now sharing more intelligence and space data. Some countries are building national space commands to better respond to attacks in orbit. Others are investing in new types of satellites that are smaller, harder to target, and more protected. NATO is also paying close attention to activity in the Arctic, where both Russia and China are expanding their presence. Satellites are now being used to watch this region more closely, tracking ship movements, military buildup, and new sea routes that are opening due to melting ice. The Arctic and space security. The Arctic might seem far away, but it's becoming a new area of competition between powerful countries. Russia and China are showing more interest in the region, and NATO wants to make sure it can monitor what's going on. Rutte says satellites are the key to doing that. With better satellite coverage, NATO can see what's happening on land and sea and also protect its forces in the area. This shows how space technology connects directly to security on Earth. Could this lead to conflict? There's another serious part of this story. In 2021, NATO made a decision that changed its space policy. The alliance agreed that Article 5, the rule that says an attack on one NATO country is an attack on all, would also apply to attacks in space. That means if one country's satellite is attacked, the entire alliance could respond. So if Russia did shoot down a satellite, it wouldn't just be a technical issue. It could start a much larger conflict involving many countries. The U.S. report adds to concerns. NATO isn't the only one sounding the alarm. A recent report from U.S. intelligence said that Russia may already be developing a satellite that can carry a nuclear weapon. This information, shared by Sky News, says such a satellite could be used to take out other satellites in orbit. The report also mentioned that during the war in Ukraine, Russia may have learned a lot about how Western militaries use satellites, and that knowledge could now be used in planning space-based attacks. What's at risk if satellites are destroyed? The idea of satellites being destroyed might sound far away from everyday life, but the impact would be huge. If just a few critical satellites go down, planes might lose contact with control towers. Weather forecasting could stop. Internet access could become unstable. Banks and ATMs could shut down, and militaries would lose vital communication. This wouldn't just be a problem for NATO, it would be a global crisis. What happens next? Right now, NATO is focusing on staying prepared. It's watching space more closely, sharing information between allies, and improving defense systems for its satellites. Rutte made it clear that the alliance will not ignore this threat. He said that space is becoming more dangerous and unpredictable, and the world needs to take it seriously. What used to be a place for science and exploration is now becoming a battlefield. Final thoughts. This isn't a science fiction story. It's real, and it's serious. The idea of nuclear weapons in space sounds shocking, because it is. But now it may be more than just an idea. If Russia moves forward with this plan, it could break a decades-old space law, endanger global systems, and start a new kind of war, a war in orbit. NATO is preparing for the worst, but hoping for peace. As always, we'll keep watching and we'll keep you updated.